Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the October 18th meeting of the Livable Roadways Committee. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. Roll call. And if people don't have their, if they have their name tags, they can kind of, this way, I'm still learning names. Thank you. Greatly appreciate it.
Okay, Councilmember Hurtak.
Here.
Cal Hardy. I saw him virtual. Yanika Mills.
Present.
Kevin O'Hare. Michael Marino. David Hay.
Here.
Emily Hinsdale.
Here.
Danielle Riffenberg.
Here.
Anna Grunman. I'm sorry, is Anna here? Larry Josephson.
Anna's here. It was just inaudible.
Okay, thank you. Casey Bauer.
Here.
Rebecca Hessinger.
Here.
Justin Willits.
Here.
Jason Jackman.
Here virtually.
Anna Quinones. Robert Fry. Brian Ramirez. Glorimar Belangia.
Here.
Carlos Ramirez. Una Johnson. Catherine Coyle.
Here.
Melissa Colazzo. Arizona Jenkins.
Here.
Gus Ignis. Bryn Dauphiné.
Here.
We do have an in-person quorum.
And Kevin O'Hare just walked into the room.
Thank you.
We have a new alternate. Oh, say hi.
Good morning, everybody.
Welcome.
Thank you. Excited to be here. Filling in for Karen Kress, but hopefully I get to fill in more because it's an awesome committee. I can't wait to be a part of it.
Welcome. We're happy to have you. Do we have a declaration of quorum?
We do have more than 9 members. Thank you for showing up like you're supposed to.
Public comment? No. Anybody online for public comment?
No, CD, no. And
All right.
none was written in.
Approval of minutes for September 20th. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Kevin and second by Catherine. All in favor? Okay. Wow, moving along. Okay. Florida Department of Transportation Tentative Work Program.
Good morning. My name is Vishaka Shibraman, TPO staff. I'm here to introduce Suzanne Monk from FDOT, who will be making the tentative work program presentation. So they will go over the highlights of the projects, which will be there for FY 25 through 29. And I'm here to take any comments from you or any questions, which we will be transmitting it to them. So as a representative, I will take all the committee comments and then pass it on to them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. I just want to figure out how to.
Did you have a preference of the PowerPoint version or the?
This is actually the BPAC one. So there's two. So I need the regular one. The BPAC wanted a kind of special.
Oh,
So
with the, no, I know. But in that one, did you just highlight more of the like head stuff? Because this committee always asks about specifics of like edge stuff. So maybe this would be the one. I don't want to.
It's not because it's going to cut out a lot of the projects.
Let's move over.
Those are just
Lisa,
my
can you
head.
double check that that microphone is working?
It's on. It's just terrible
Okay.
acoustics in this
Thank you.
building. Yeah, that's right. So you have to project from here. It sounds like you're yelling, but you're not. All right, so that should be the correct one, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I'll be loud.
Make sure.
Yeah, the BPAC one just specifies all of the bike ped improvements and took out like operations and technology and all that. So we wanted to make
We have all
sure.
bike peds that you're doing, because they
Yes.
always ask.
Yes, definitely.
I've had both open.
Yes. Okay, good morning. Thank you for having me. My name is Suzanne Monk. I'm the government liaison for Hillsborough County and Hernando Citrus. I will be discussing the FDOT tentative work program public hearing report, which is for fiscal year 25 through 29. So just a little quick overview over what the work program is. It's the department's 5-year plan that includes all the type of projects: public transit, seaport, bike ped, transportation planning, ITS, design, right-of-way, construction activities. So this just kind of lays out how we look at everything. So next is currently with the work program, we're under the adopted work program for fiscal year 24 through 28, which is what we approved in July. What we're going to look at this time, I apologize, they changed our PowerPoint. So what we're going to look at today is at every July 30th, the current year the work program ends and the new year bumps up. So what you'll see is on July 1st, year 2 is going to move up to the current year. So 25 will be the new first year, and the new 5th year is fiscal year 29. And we are looking to fund the new 5th year. So a lot of the projects that you see today, there might be some funding in the inner years that we were able to maneuver, but majority of them will be in fiscal year 29. And those are going to be added based on the Florida transportation goals, statewide programs, and then local priorities. So this is where we're at, looking at tentative. This presentation is going to outline the first 5 years and any new projects in the 5th year. And then this will be submitted to the legislator later this year for review, and then the governor will review and sign off. After the governor signs off, it will technically be adopted, and the first year will be included in the state budget, and the work program is considered adopted at that point. And that happens July 1st. So we look at a couple different strategies. We just like to mention this when we're going through this. We look at preserving the existing program first to make sure that the work program is stable. So we do a work program update cycle on all the projects that we currently have programmed to make sure that the costs are accurate, so we can fund those needs first to make sure that your projects are going to successfully happen. And then second, we would look to fund any new phases. So if we have a design currently underway and we don't have the construction programmed, we're going to look at program those projects next to make sure that we are not adding new projects without finishing the current projects that we have. And then third, we would look at any new projects that are based off of the MPO priorities, regional priorities like the SCTPA, and then FDOT and CIS priorities. So the project pages in this presentation, I just like to let you guys know, these are new projects, newly funded projects, or deferred projects, or just projects of interest. So if there was a project that was previously programmed and it's not mentioned today, it just means there's no changes. It's still there. We are just highlighting a few items that we were able to add or items that we had to move out. So with that, for our planning slide, we are programming in fiscal year 29, I believe it's $600,000 for the TPO to do their transportation planning. There's also an East Tampa County transportation update and a truck parking analysis. These are planning studies that are going to be conducted by the department in fiscal year 25. And next was transit. Hart Bus Stop capital repairs was high on the list. They will be receiving capital grant in fiscal year 29 for their bus stop improvements. And then also bus replacements will receive money in fiscal year 29 for the bus replacements at Hart. Next looks at operations, which is a couple projects. These on the slides are all TPO priorities. Fletcher Avenue at 15th Street is an intersection improvement that Hillsborough County applied for. They will be receiving SIGP funds, which is County Incentive Grant Program funding, which is a state grant, in fiscal year 26 to fix the intersection there. I believe they're updating the light and putting in some pedestrian improvements. Next up, I-75 at Gibsonton Drive, interchange improvement. Last cycle, we were able to get the design underway and add the design in 24. This is just adding the minimal right-of-way that we do need in fiscal year 25, just kind of queuing us up to get that money for the construction for the next phase of that project.
What is that? I mean,
The DDI, the diverging diamond interchange at Gibsonton.
no, the State Road 93 at Florida, Nebraska. The 25, is that? Just curious what that project is.
I
'Cause
couldn't hear you, sorry.
the bottom one at Florida, Nebraska, because that's all under construction with the current modifications to the DTI.
Yeah,
I'm just curious what that is, what that project is.
So that one is the addition of an auxiliary ramp and an auxiliary ramp to the crosstown connector and the I-4. So it was already programmed. And what happened was that the cost increase went up. And so we're having to add money to it in 25 to make sure that we get that auxiliary ramp to connect the I-4 and the crosstown.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So we wanted to, because we're adding money to it, we just want to be transparent. We added money to it, it's already programmed. So there's a couple changes in here where the project's increased.
But it's basically the project that's already under construction.
Yes.
Money in the out year to
Yep.
supplement it. Okay, thanks.
We have another question.
Sure.
You had said a diverging diamond on that one.
Yes.
Maybe this is too early, but I go that way numerous times. There's lots of people walking over the bridge. So hopefully in all this diverging diamond, there's going to be pedestrian getting across the bridge, because there's now a movie theater on the other side, there's apartments on the other side. There's a lot of people that are kind of in the breakdown lanes, riding bikes and over 75.
So,
Well,
I
that's why they're
can't-
pursuing that, because
yeah,
DDIs are more bike and pet friendly.
Right.
Even though they're
right.
I'm just
taking used to-
hoping that there's.
I can check with the project manager and get back to you. I live up in Pasco, but at State Road 56, we have the diverging diamond. And they've made all the bike ped coordinators made sure there's keyholes and everybody can just function as one unit. So I believe that's where we're going, but I'll double check and get back to you on that. Yeah.
That-
The next project is US 41 from south of Pendola Point to Madison Avenue to Denver Street. This is adding right-of-way. This is actually currently under design. We're widening to 6 lanes and adding a shared use path on the east side of the road. We were able to add the right-of-way in fiscal year 27. The construction's not programmed, but that's what we would look to fund next. Next up, Big Bend Road from US 41 to Covington Garden. This is the Big Bend bookends. So last cycle, we were able to fund the east side with TRIP money. This time, the county asked for the funding in 26 for the construction of the west side, which just so you guys are aware, you'll see later in the slide, will have the south, I think it's the South Coast Greenway Ped Overpass, which was approved thankfully by Sun Trail, and that will be coming as well. So that'll cover the whole Big Bend corridor. We'll have the overpass and we'll have both sides of Big Bend done.
Seen the bookends presentation before, where you have this part and this part for the county, and then this part for the DOT. It's all working together.
Yeah, we're trying to just knock it all out. So next up is Plant City Project Park Road at Coronet and Ossobrook. This has been on the priority list, I would probably say 5 years. We have actually worked with some consultants to get a better understanding of what Plant City was looking for. They want to add some turn lanes on this. We are going to be adding the construction in fiscal year 29. We actually eliminated the right of way, the need for right of way, so we're able to move forward with this. So we're going to get this project done, and we're also going to actually implement this on their behalf. Same thing with East Alexander Street at Jim Johnson. We're going to be doing that project for Plant City as well. And we'll be able to knock those off the priority list and projects will be able to move up. State Road 60 at Horton Road intersection improvements. We were able to add, we're actually adding a traffic light here, I believe. Yes, traffic signal requested by the County of Beesville during a discussion with FDOT. We had a transportation talk and they voiced their opinion. We ran some warrants and tried to see if this was a good area to add a traffic light. It was, so we're going to be doing the design in fiscal year 27, and we've added the right of way in fiscal year 29, and then next cycle we'll look to get that construction under programmed. US 301 at Palm River Road is an intersection improvement that Hillsborough County reached out. They were previously awarded this county incentive grant. However, they had it in 27 and they wanted to advance it to 25 because they're ahead of schedule. So we were able to make that happen. Next up, I-75 from South Tampa Bypass Canal to south of Fowler Avenue. This is the addition of auxiliary lanes. The next two, so, well, it's one. So there's two, there's, hold on. There's one that goes southbound, there's one that goes northbound. So this is addition of auxiliary lanes southbound and northbound from the Tampa Bypass Canal to south of Fowler. We were able to add or advance the construction. This was already programmed, but we were able to advance the construction from 25 to 24 to get those underway. So those will be happening this year. I-75, 275, the collector distribution road from south of County Line Road to County Line Road. This is at the diverging diamond at State Road 56. Half of this is in Hillsborough, half is in Pasco. So just to make you guys aware, this was a project that was moved out of the work program, the tentative. So it's in like fiscal year, it's outside of 29. So it's like 2030. So technically it's moved out. There was a CIS prioritization report that came out, which led to us having to move some of our projects around. So this one is just for the Hillsborough piece, but it, you will see it again later on down the road, but it's not currently in the 5-year program. State Road 60 from Valrico Road to east of Dover Road. The construction again was moved out due to CIS prioritization. It's still in the work program, just it's outside the 5-year tentative work program.
Okay. Because this is one that TPO has written letters about questioning the need.
Yeah.
So it's not bad that it's not constructed.
Yeah. And then I-4, westbound from east of Orient to west of I-75. This is a project that's adding auxiliary lanes. The right-of-way is actually going to happen in the blueprint. So we were able to eliminate the right-of-way phase and put that money back in the work program. This project's already programmed for design. It was design, construction, or design, right-of-way, and construction. However, we don't need the right-of-way. So we just wanted to bring it to your attention that we're going to be doing that within the blueprint of our right-of-way.
What year is construction?
I don't know, but I
It's not just-
The right-of-way was supposed to be in fiscal year 24. So I would assume it's within the next couple years, but I can double check.
Oh, I'm just curious.
Okay. And then the next two, I know you guys are gonna have questions. State Road 60, Brandon Boulevard at Valrico. State Road 60, Brandon Boulevard from Lakewood Drive to Mount Carmel. These projects were removed from the work program at the request of the county. The county came to us, they were awarded these SICP grants, which is County Incentive Grant Program for construction, and they came to us and told us that they had higher priorities that needed funding before these projects. So I did make the TPO aware, we've had multiple discussions. However, they were removed from the work program completely, and we did want to make you guys aware. Same thing with State Road 60, Brandon Boulevard at St. Cloud Avenue, which construction was dropped for the same reason at the request of the county. And then Palm River Road at US 41. This is also an intersection improvement, but in order to advance one of their other ones from fiscal year 27 to 25, they deferred this one to 27 because they're playing the game. They're ready with the project, so they want to get the money on this project and not go there. So next up is Complete Streets, McDill Avenue from West Kennedy Boulevard to Main Street, urban corridor improvements. City of Tampa applied for SU funds and we were able to program the construction in fiscal year 29. This will include new RRFBs at Gray, LaSalle, and Main Street with additional intersection and safety improvements. Tampa Street, Highland Avenue, and Flora Avenue from MLK to South of Waters. This is the next segment on the Heights Mobility Urban Corridor improvements. We were able to add in fiscal year 25 some funding for survey, so we can go out there, survey it, and then hopefully move into design. It will be designed in-house by FDOT, and once we have the typical section, I know Beth's leaving, but Johnny's on it too. Once we have the typical section, we will come back and let you guys know what we're doing, whether it's going to be a bike lane, sidewalk. She has a lot of questions, so we're not sure. So.
I'll just add to that. I think we're doing all the survey for that now for the BRT project. So
Okay.
we may be able to
Okay.
expedite
Yeah.
some of that. And there may be some improvements done if we get a grant award.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we'll know that well in advance.
Okay. That would be great. If we can do that, then maybe we can add this money to another project, if we don't need as much.
Just give it to
It's
us.
the right way. I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Last project on Complete Streets is Park Road from US 92 to North Drive 4 urban corridor improvements. The construction of these, let me see. So I asked what these improvements were. So the road is being resurfaced, which is a separate project. However, there was urban corridor improvements on this project, and they were under a different FPID. Basically, they dropped the urban corridor improvements and added them to the resurfacing project, and that's why you're seeing it here. So there's no change, just FPID numbers are changing. And this one, I was told, was they're updating an emergency signal at Plant City Fire Station number 3 to a full signal with pedestrian features and relocating a sidewalk and a crosswalk on Park Road, moving it closer to the ramp tangent section, which it's all happening, just gonna happen all at once under one contract. Bike ped improvements. We did want to bring to the attention that Fowler Avenue from 56th Street east of I-75, which was programmed last cycle, is Mayor Ross's sidewalk that he has requested. The price of that construction went up. So we had to add additional transportation alternative funds in fiscal year 28 to make that project whole. Next up was the bike ped, or the ped overpass, South Coast Greenway, Big Bend from Waterset to Covington Gardens. Construction for this ped overpass will be in fiscal year 29, and it was awarded via Sun Trail. So I've been working with Sarah Caper just to keep that going, and we're working on the design of that right now. Next up, Hillsborough County sidewalk apps. These are sidewalk gaps on the state highway system that were prioritized. We are looking at the TPO's high injury network. We coordinated with the TPO, they provided us a listing of the high injury network, and we are going to go down the list and hit those segments. So the design will be in 25 through 29, and then we have construction funding starting in 29.
Can I just ask a clarifying question? Just when you're referencing Hillsborough, you're not referencing just unincorporated, you're referencing
Encompassing the whole, yes.
city and all that stuff. Okay,
Yes.
just-
Thank you for that.
Yes.
Is this distinct and different than the congestion dollars that you got, that you were doing sidewalk gaps all over?
No, this is the same. It's the carb reduction funding that we received.
Okay.
It's the one that's dedicated to the district.
We do have the list of sidewalks now.
Okay, yes. Wade's been coordinating with our,
They were going to be on the high entry network, so I'm glad.
yes, I don't think we have a listing of which ones we're hitting first. We're kind of doing scoping right now, but that information will be forthcoming, so. Yes, ma'am.
Just make another comment, son.
Sure.
Regarding sidewalk gaps, and I've said this before, the interchange of 75 north of Bloomingdale, or 75 and 301 all meet. Every day there are, and this is going to be like it's in the drive, there are people maneuvering through that, walking, biking, everything, and there's no pedestrian infrastructure through the interchange. Because now there's all stuff on the south side, there's all stuff on the north side, there's Publix on the north side, there's apartments on the south side. Every day, there are people I see on bikes in the breakdown trying to get across these slip lanes and everything onto, and someone's gonna get killed there. There's people at night, I've seen people at night maneuvering through this. So I'm hoping the sidewalk gaps interchange on 301 is approved.
I'm not sure because I don't have the list that was provided by the TPO. I know we're hitting those.
That is one of them. 301 as it crosses, that's on the short list.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Wow, okay. I was gonna say, I thought we'll get it added to the list.
For sure.
Well, we gonna put the wall. If we had more, look at, by the thing off, work out.
Out back on which street?
What's that?
Boy Scout.
That's, what's that?
Yeah.
Okay.
What we go about that, like going towards,
So maybe or the mall,
going towards the mall,
towards the mall.
on the right side. That whole level. I don't go there because
You talking about on Lois or on? It might be on Lois.
boys, work out.
Oh, right here.
Yeah, work out. When you leaving the house, like, going to, mall,
Yeah, right here. Okay.
yeah.
Sounds like the driveways are
I want-
prioritized.
I'm wondering if that's gonna come, Cal,
That's a
with
design
your,
issue.
It's on Lois.
You got
probably
funds.
fix it then.
You
But
know,
I think it's something on Boy Scout.
okay.
when you leaving the house, the house, would you put that like on the right thing? You wanna do the mall?
Yeah.
No sidewalk to the mall, is that what you're saying? Yeah.
No.
Oh, it's just gonna stop.
It just.
And the sidewalk goes up, right?
Yeah.
So
It's difficult to maneuver in.
Yeah.
Oh, for
And
sure.
then drive around, there's some areas.
if it's north of Boy Scout, that's airport property. It's Hillsborough Aviation Corp. So it's not public land, basically. Well, it's public, well,
It's
it's
like,
not, it's not like a municipality.
Atlanta, with all, the events like this.
No, the restaurant, that would be on, that's the right away on that side.
Yeah.
So south side where the off the trail, there, at least between Lois and Manhattan, there may be some uneven sidewalk.
Okay.
All the way to,
To where?
Still neighboring.
On the other
No,
side.
yeah.
Oh,
Okay. So it would be basically Manhattan to Dale Mabry on the south side of Boise.
okay.
I think it has the.
Yeah.
That's a design issue, and when we're redesigning roads, we are trying to prioritize the sidewalks stay level,
Mhm.
and the driveways have the up downess.
So, almost, to that, but yeah.
So just one more thing on that, there's a property going in, a redevelopment going in at that intersection on that side with all those cypress trees, so that's likely redo the sidewalk at that point.
Is that
Okay.
a Boy Scout?
Lowest north, or southeast corner. That's the one by the MetLife.
Oh, yeah.
We all restaurants tend to get the football.
Let's not get too long in this. Because Lois has a complete street project, yeah.
Yeah, that one's coming. So, okay. Next up, we were able to fund the Plant City Canal Connector Trail for phase 1. We are going to do a preliminary engineering line and grade kind of study in fiscal year 25 to try to figure out some details. I know you guys did a feasibility study, but when we did a feasibility about programming, there was some utilities and some other things that we weren't comfortable with programming the project yet, but we want to go out there and do a line and grade. I think it's like $250,000 that we put on here in 25. So we want to set that up to tee it off and get it programmed for the rest of the design and the construction. And we'll do that on behalf of Plant City as well.
Thank you. Thank you. The city's excited to see that moving.
Oh, absolutely. US 41, Nebraska.
Our Plant City representative, Monica, did you recognize the name? Or the name? Voice? I don't recognize the voice now.
This is Frank Kokenauer, Plant City.
Okay, thank you. Gail keeps the records, thank you.
We'll be in touch with you, Frank.
Yeah.
US 41, Nebraska from Idlewild Avenue to Paris Street. We actually currently have a resurfacing project in this area. However, the mid-block crossing, that is this project that's on the screen, construction is going to be in 25. We were not able to add the project to the resurfacing due to utility. It was going to delay the project, I want to say, 1.5 years. So we are going to go back in fiscal year 25. We're currently designing it, and we're going to go back and do the construction in 25 to make sure that that mid-block crossing gets put in.
So we're doing a crossing in Idlewild? Basically, yes.
Right across from the
Well, I
public.
know it's public, I'm just thinking, and it's like right there, it's only 2 blocks.
Yeah, but constantly, people are always crossing from
I just
public
think about it, it's
to
interesting, it's
Family
close.
Dollar.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
that's also where the bus stops are,
Well,
and people will not walk up and over. I can't tell you how many times I've almost run into people.
yeah. And
I make my kids walk to Hannah because it's 2 blocks, but
That's okay.
Commissioner Myers reached out when she found out that it was removed and really advocated for this. So we were able to add some state funds to make sure that we could get this out there and accommodate the PEDs over there. Next up is the technology slide, interstate wrong way driving.
Before you move on.
Sure.
Sorry, does that include the island or no? Back in the planning study, there was going to widen the curve out to put a refuge in between the 2 stations. Is that just a mid-block?
I'm not sure. I was told that it was just gonna be a mid-block, but let me check.
There was a concept that moved the curve out so that you could have a refuge island in between this.
I can check.
Thanks.
Sorry. Yeah, because I'll check and get back to you on that one for sure. Interstate wrong way driving vehicle detection system. These are going to go on various ramps, phase 2 and 3. Construction's added in fiscal year 25 and 26. I do have a map if you guys are interested as to where these are going to be placed and when they're going to be deployed from Peter Shoe. Plant City connected vehicle priority and preemption deployment, which is ITS communications that are going to be constructed in fiscal year 25. And the I-275 Florida Regional Advanced Mobility Elements, also known as FRAME, is an ITS PE, which is design in 26 and construction in 27. Basically, we just did this on I-4. It's basically going to give us the connectability to route people on the signs if there's an accident. You know, you need to get off here, this is coming, or, you know, if there's emergency vehicles that are coming through as well. State Road 582 Fowler from east of CSX Railroad Crossing to 22nd Street. We are going to be adding traffic signals within this corridor. Construction will be in fiscal year 26. I believe they just began scoping, so I couldn't get much information other than there's going to be traffic signals and some pedestrian improvements. US 41 at Loose Lake Fern Road, Sunset Lane, Crystal Lake Road, and Crenshaw Lake. We will be upgrading the traffic signals at these locations. We will start the design in fiscal year 29. And then US 92 Hillsborough Avenue at 56th Street and Harney Road. Those will be also replacing of the traffic signals as well, designed in 29. Nebraska at Chapman, traffic signals as well. This actually will be an installation of a new traffic signal, and the design will begin in fiscal year 29. Nebraska at Bird is, we're replacing the box span signal with a mast arm signal. So the design of that will start in 29. And then down Mabry Highway at North Lakeview, we're upgrading the traffic signal and adding pedestrian crossing with enhanced lighting. And we will start that design in 29. So this is just an overview over the total amount over 5 years, and then broken down by each individual segment. Just to make it clear, try to do this every year. Bike ped and complete streets, it looks like a low number, but some of those, it's hard for us to track and pull out those numbers because some of them are in operations and other types of projects, so we can't specifically track them to the dollar amount. But hopefully next year we'll be able to add some more Sun Trail. There is a call for Sun Trail projects right now, and we should be able to get some more money for that as well. So, yeah.
The Nebraska Bird Street, that is a crossing for the, blanking on the Green Artery.
Okay.
So just FYI on that, we have a project program and work program for that section too.
Oh, okay.
So.
Okay. Sounds good.
I'll just call something out here for transit. Over 5 years, like we love any money we can get from anyone, especially DOTs. But 17 million over 5 years is not much. Generally, it costs us about $500,000 a year to put one bus on the street for 5 to 7 days a week. So 2.5 times 5. My math is bad this morning, sorry. That's about right. Right, a little over 3. Is about, it's not much. So we definitely are looking for more money from everyone, including the city and the county, but also DOT. So anything we can do to get that number up would actually make a pretty big impact. It's that 17 million spread out is not moving the needle much for us.
Is there another category that you would like to see lower to make up for it?
We have 773 million in capacity.
Yeah,
Transit
yeah.
directly impacts capacity. That would be a great place to move it out of.
I agree.
Can we,
I don't disagree, but I have a preference where it comes from.
The aviation and C4 monies, where do those come from? Are those federal grants from, like, is there a funding program from the federal government that's specific to aviation?
Yes.
And C4, are they going after transportation funding too?
I believe they have their own pot of money, just like we have transportation alternative and Hart has their own funding too with the FTA, and they have their own.
So it's not competing with the transportation fund.
I always find that too, because they got like a ginormous piece of the pie compared to all the other entities, and they don't seem to be hurting for a lot of construction projects and stuff. They seem to have ample money.
I think they get majority of their funding elsewhere. I don't even think, I know $160 million is a lot of money, but I think that they receive federally through other entities. Like, it's just, that's a small piece for them, is what I was told the other day.
Well, they combine, and they have other ability to to raise money for bonds and stuff like that.
Right.
But it's funny with, I believe the airport, their main source of income is parking.
Yeah.
Same thing with
Great
ports.
job.
Yeah. I believe.
I have a question, and I truly don't understand. I've read the newspaper articles about it, but I have a meeting with Vic to explain it. The city just won some grant about planning for transportation. It seems like another. So if you could
I
just,
I could talk on that a little bit. So it's pretty complicated. Basically, they just called the Building Bureau. Actually, Justin's wife was very instrumental in getting that grant, along with Danny. They put the application out. It's basically identifying other sources of revenue. It also allows for like 2 full-time employees to track that. And it's basically, it's not necessarily going into infrastructure. What it's doing is setting up private-public partnerships, other, different revenue sources and things like that. And it allows for developers, it allows for like some kind of low interest, like loans basically, and stuff like that. So it's complicated, like to tell you the truth, I don't get it that much because it's nothing to do with like, it's all financial jargon.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to really do with.
well, but it seems like, FDOT, it would be great to have that partnership to maybe, like we said, move some money and then kickstart that a bit more. But yeah,
I can elaborate a little bit. It's basically setting up the planning work to build regional stakeholder collaboration to set us up to prepare the city to finance these projects through a major loan from feds.
okay.
The local funding source to pay off that debt is still to be identified in this process. So we still will end up back at the same conversation about local funding, but this is going to help us build some momentum and collaboration to get to that point.
Okay.
But yeah, one of the other things about the FDOT element is I'm pretty sure some of the South Florida DOT districts have more dedicated transit revenue. So I would hope, but I'm not optimistic, that part of the state study looking at HART right now may suggest that that is one potential revenue stream, although not optimistic it's going to say that. But for instance, South Florida should dedicate a lot more of the state money to transit operations. So whatever our 17 million would convert to there, I don't know what the number is, but I'm sure it's much more impactful. So hopefully that could be part of the mix in generating.
A quick question at the top of your presentation, sorry. Yeah.
No, you're fine.
Could you elaborate more on what the East Hillsborough County Transportation Update is and what the scope of that planning dollars are for?
So all I was told, and I can get more information, was that it's an additional data collection for modeling efforts that was added into fiscal year 25. I can ask for additional and get back to you.
Yeah, that would be great. I've
Yeah.
never heard of that till this meeting, and I'm not sure, what is East Hillsborough? You can ask 5 different folks. East Hillsborough, they'll give you 5 different answers, so.
No, I agree.
I'm very curious to what they define as that, and with data collection, what type of data collection? Is it roads? Is it pedestrian bike? Is it capacity improvements? Is it, yeah.
Okay,
We'd
yeah.
love some more elaboration.
No, definitely.
Wade or Anika, do you know, like, is that part of the annexation of city or something that we're trying to
No.
study? The
That, I know that this is not a,
TPO?
it's not a TPO priority. It was something else I have on my list. It'll be FDOT managed project. So I think honestly, it would be, I need to talk to Justin
Okay.
and get back to you guys.
Do you know who requested it? Sorry, last question.
I don't.
Well, thank
Yeah.
you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
totally,
I have a guess.
one of the other like things that I am very loose on is the LRTP, the planning process on that. Usually the planning staff handles that. So I noticed that they don't have any of the city lab projects in there. Is this just DOT led project? Is that what that is?
No.
Okay, so the lab project, city does have the peers aren't shown in some of the safety projects, but
Well, because this is all the new projects that were programmed.
gotcha. Okay,
So-
here's the
It's
new-
not here, it hasn't changed.
So when I get to the next slide, I'm gonna give you guys a website and tell you a little bit more. So let me,
One second before you move to the slide.
Yeah.
To Emily's point, I think I would love to see this as a pie chart,
okay,
just to see how much of this is focused on pedestrian, complete streets versus, I mean, what's on transit, just because that would be a really, I think, impactful visual.
okay.
And amend that to not only
Yeah,
for new funding, but for like total funding.
Sure, yeah, exactly. Just, an added slide would be very helpful because we just need to start moving the needle.
They've done it in the past, and the bike ped was such a tiny sliver, it barely even showed up, that's what it kept going.
But that's
every year to be expressed, that's a percentage.
That's I love that visual though, that really, because that's our priorities.
Well, and it might be, like you said, a good idea to do a pie chart for the next total over 5 years and then show what we programmed in the tentative work program. So like a pie chart showing what we actually programmed for the new 5th year and then one for the overall, so you can see like
How it's changing.
versatile and how it's changing. Yeah, and we're open to ideas and suggestions on this. This is something that we're trying to change around a little bit, switch it up. So if you have more, happy to hear those as well.
Yes, can we make a motion to
Yeah.
that effect,
Go
of
for it.
how we would like to see these funds moved around?
Uh-huh.
Okay. I think I'll suggest the motion, shift the capacity funding to hit actual capacity in transit and bike ped, to make that a little, know if we want to say specific numbers, but perhaps not making it like a 20 times difference between bike ped and capacity, or transit and capacity. So I would make a motion to shift half of the funding we're doing capacity into real capacity changers like transit and bike ped.
Complete streets as well.
And complete
And
streets.
complete streets.
Second. Well, I can't second, sorry. We got a second, okay. Okay, so we have a motion, any conversation about it? Okay.
I have a question. I stepped up to use the restroom, I apologize.
So your intent is 380,000 essentially. So what happens to that, or $1 million? What happens to the capacity projects?
They're delayed or.
Yeah. Okay.
Or perhaps the capacity projects are changed to focus some of that capacity, like instead of say adding an extra lane, you add a transit lane. Yeah, a bus lane only, like a designated bus lane, designated bike lanes.
That the issue of capacity, if part could provide more service, may reduce the actual need for the capacity improvement on the road. Or if there's dollars to make it where the transit actually has priority on certain roadways.
I would say Emily, if it doesn't integrate freight.
Well, I think what we should really look at it like this, and I talked about this with TPO. We need to stop looking at capacity as moving vehicles and look at capacity as moving people and goods.
Yeah.
People and goods.
That's my only.
So,
Freight piece of it, 'cause
but
we-
you could have, I mean, you can have, I've seen in other cities, you can have a bus and freight lane. I mean, it doesn't
Yeah.
have, just the idea is not having, adding
That's fine,
another
just
lane.
be
just to
qualified
make
to
it-
that, that's all.
I think what the purpose of my motion is to shift thinking away from let's add capacity by adding more car space, and let's add
Redefining what
capacity.
capacity is.
Right,
Yes.
redefine capacity as including complete streets, bike ped, transit. And if you wanted
Capacity
to
of all
add,
modes of
yes,
transportation.
all modes of transportation.
I think Justin brought it up a moment ago. I'd be curious to see what the comparison is with Orlando and Miami with their DOTs and how much they're spending on transit,
Oh, yeah.
specifically operational compared to us, because I do think that, to Justin's point, our region is growing, and if we're not getting anywhere near what the other regions are getting, especially Orlando, since they're one we're often compared with, that's a non-starter right there. We have to start as pulling our own weight and giving our fair share. And that's really, I just don't know those numbers off the top of my head, but as it'd be great. I think it'd be good discussion material, but
Yeah, that can be a motion we make after this.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
I was just gonna say, one way to think about this is also to not necessarily shift the total. I'm not trying to change the motion. This is a conversation. Change it from capacity to transit, but to include 25% or 50% of capacity to be dedicated to person throughput, not vehicle, as a policy. So that therefore we would focus on using existing infrastructure, vehicles, people. Rather than-
Right now, the committee is just advising of the concept that they'd like to see a different prioritization of the things to match up better here. So how they get there, the sausage gets made, then it takes board action and DOT.
Right, it's
We don't have to figure out the details.
the motion is just that we create basically.
Shift capacity to transit, bike, ped, and complete streets is what I've got so far, unless somebody wants to add on to prioritize people with goods.
Just to reframe it really quick, it gets back to that definition. It's to truly change the way that we're thinking for future design and funding. It is to literally change that definition, how we look at capacity. If we're talking about capacity as a whole, for all modes and movement of all people, then it is to redefine that. And then there's equal distribution across all modes of the funding.
I like that.
Whether it's $1 billion or $1 million, it's equally shared and prioritized for all modes.
I agree, but it's a too large.
But this is the split today.
Okay. No,
But this is the split today.
Yeah.
based on this.
Talking about philosophical changes in how all transportation workers think, I think is maybe a little larger than we have in front of us today.
Okay, any other, we want to restate the motion?
Just one more thing. It would be interesting to see what is on surface streets and what's on interstate capacity too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the state roads, like surface state roads and stuff like that, I'd like to see that broken out, but I don't know if that's part of this motion. It would be I guess it would be part of the asking for the bar chart.
Right, okay. We can make that clear. On the bar chart suggestion to your PowerPoint, having the capacity projects broken out by service roads versus interstate grants.
I can try.
Yeah.
It's just the way that things are coded in the work program, and to just speak to the whole capacity, moving capacity funds somewhere else, just as an FYI, a lot of the money, depending upon the funding type, can't be used in certain places. So I think you guys should make the motion, bring it up to the board, and then, we can look at it and see how we move forward. But I just wanted to let you know, sometimes the funding type dictates where you can put that actual.
Just like we just airport money has to go to the airport, but there is some flexibility that gives guidance on.
Yeah.
Where that.
Yes.
This seems just to be more of a philosophical and just overall, like this is what the board would like to see the DOT. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Unanimously.
Second motion about, is there a second motion about the percentage research?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion for maybe a staff update at a future meeting at whatever time is convenient to bring back a comparison of FDOT 5-year work plans to evaluate transit, both operational and capital improvements in all of those 7 DOT districts.
So basically we want the pie chart from all of us.
Yeah, just a breakdown of transit operating and capital projects in the 5-year work plan for every DOT district in the state.
Right, Ed.
Yeah, I would expand that to
Then,
all.
yeah, expand it to all.
I would just have everything. Let's, if we're just.
First we want the pie chart.
All right,
First we want the pie chart.
then a staff update at a future meeting to bring back a synopsis of 5-year work plans broken down by category for all district, for all FDOT districts.
So for the state of Florida.
For the state of
Period.
Florida, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
So-
Goes without saying, but yes.
So it would, we're thinking it would show like percentages of the total
Yeah, so a synopsis, so not necessarily a project by project breakdown.
Right,
You could be
but
here for a
just-
couple hours.
Kind of like
But-
that last slide.
Yeah, like the last slide. So a synopsis of funding in each work plan for all districts within FDOT that showcases transit dollars, highway dollars, the breakdown that we have in front of us, total funding over 5 years. So the 5-year work plan for all of them.
To see if our percentage
To
here is.
to compare, yes.
Okay, and you would want like transit, how it is on the screen with the operations and then capital?
Yeah, so this,
Okay,
this slide here is
This.
really this for all District 7, for all, I keep saying District 7, sorry. All
Yeah.
districts within it.
okay,
And
yeah,
I'll make that
And
motion.
they've got it, as they're doing the same thing.
So I have a motion and a second. Anyone? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, passes unanimously.
Excuse me, Chair.
Yes,
For the record, the first motion was made by Emily Hinsdale.
correct. And seconded by David Hay. And then the second motion was made by Kevin O'Hare and seconded by David Hay.
Thank you.
okay, so this is more for Cal.
Yeah, this is the action.
Yeah, this is the tentative work program timeline. So we'll have our online public hearing, which will be on a website. It's a virtual website, a virtual room website. We do have a flyer to provide you guys that will be in the TPO board meeting as well. We didn't have it in time for your agenda.
That we distributed it.
Okay. So online, you can look at all the documents. That includes all the projects that are in the tentative work program for the next 5 years, not just the new ones that I presented today. So Cal, that will have all of your projects in there. And it'll also identify LF too, so the local funds as well. November 13th, actually, before we get there, October 26th, we are going to have a public hearing at the district. At this public hearing, you will be able to come in, look at the documents physically, or have someone show you how to work the website. We have some people that would rather look at paper. We have some people that just need a little bit of help with the website. So we'll be there from 9 to 6 on October 26th. Anybody and the public is welcome as well. Then November 13th, we are expecting all public comments to be turned in via the website or via email. November 20th is the last day for MPO objections. And then early spring, it will go to the legislative session for review and the FTC. And then once it's passed there, it will go on to be adopted by the governor on July 1st. So this is the website on there. I know it's on your flyer as well. Any comments, we really just ask that you submit them. I think Vishaka got all the comments from the presentation today. I know it was a lot, but I will definitely get back to you guys.
The Shaka collects them for the TPO comments and the ones that go to the board. But if your agencies have comments on specific projects or the program overall, this is your way to do it for individuals.
Yes, or you can email me and I can try to find out what we can. So great, thank you guys.
This is the hard. Now, Vishaka's going to do a very quick presentation. The next one.
Good morning. This is Vishaka Shivraman, TPO staff. I'm here to present to you the 2050 LRTP needs assessment for congestion mitigation, congestion management and crash mitigation. So just to give you a quick update, this is one of the products that it's a technical memorandum prepared as part of the LRTP final update. So you will see different pieces of this. So just to move on to this, this is the basic plan ingredients, which will, this slide tells you how the LRTP plan will match forecasted revenues to the desired level of performance for several key indicators. Today, I'm going to be focusing on congestion management, and the other products are good repair and resilience, real choices when not driving, major investments, and needs assessment for goods movement and equity.
You've seen different ones of these different months.
Yeah, I just wanted to make it quick.
Yeah.
If you want to stop,
Just
let me
remind
know.
them.
I'll pause at any slide. And Once the public has decided what level of performance they need, we will estimate how much that would cost and match the revenues to the forecasted desired level of performance and to match that condition. Moving on to this, I would just like to quickly explain the methodology, how we forecast the crashes and condition performance, and how the costs are estimated to improve the performance. This is a quick slide to tell you where the data comes from. We work with a consultant that use the proprietary sketch tool to generate the forecast. The data comes from the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Model, which includes forecasted volume and applies some algorithms to produce the travel reliability, minutes of delay, and crashes on major roads by type of crash. This tool, to see how much improvement that could be made by 2050, we work with local governments also and selected treatments that could be applied to most of the problematic corridors and generated cost estimates. The benefit of these treatments were based on FHWA guidance and research from the Crash Modification Factor Clearinghouse. So the first set of needs that we are assessing are for congestion management scenarios. We created, we assumed a baseline budget of treatments of about 24 million annually, which is what is currently being spent by jurisdictions on operational treatments. So when we apply these treatments to the most congested corridors, they are mostly on freeways. We use ramp metering, part-time shoulder running, and for arterials and collectors, we assume treatments of real-time traffic adaptive signal control. So this second scenario is called performance scenario. So this is when we assume that if we increase the funding from 24 million and make it to 48 million annually, we can get improved performance overall. And for that, the treatments that were considered were, in addition to the ones mentioned before, we consider traffic incident management, which is to reroute the traffic in times of congestion on freeways. And for arterials and collectors, we assumed left turn lanes at intersections where it's applicable. So this is a chart which quickly shows you what performance, what level of performance is achieved if we are investing in two different kinds of scenario. The first column will show you how much it is for the trend spending. And if you look at the chart for the performance spending, you can see that we are able to we are able to improve about 238 miles overall on collectors, and for interstate and freeway, a great also we can see a large difference of about 108 miles, and also that helps to achieve a peak performance, peak delay reduction, and a speed increase on these corridors. These are split by functional class of corridors, and the annual investment cost is 24 million overall for the trend level, which is the current level, and for the performance level, it's 48 million. Moving on to crash mitigation, we assumed similar scenarios. An annual budget spending of 25 million for the current spending, which is what the jurisdictions are currently spending on crash and safety. And if we increase the funding to 50 million, we can improve more corridors overall. So the improvements that we were considering on arterials and collectors are, some of them are listed here, including bike lanes, which are physically separated bike lanes, lighting, including intersection and street lights, pedestrian crosswalks and signals, and access management treatments, which include two-way left turn lanes conversion, and also reducing driveway density, and of course, speed reduction and traffic control, and speed reduction and speed control measures. I would like just to explain that with the current spending, which is the trend spending, we are only able to improve limited number of roadways. To achieve greater benefits, we had to double the budget. So that's how we arrived at these two scenarios. So again, this is a similar table that helps you to understand how much crash reduction we can get based on some of these treatments. So with the trend spending, we are only able to treat about 640 miles of roadway, and able to with the trend scenario and with the performance scenario, we are able to treat over 1,060 miles of roadway. Overall, a crash reduction is achieved higher in the higher scenario. Across the total crashes, fatal crashes, you can see that the biggest difference achieved is in collectors and arterials, and likewise for bike and bed crash, ped and bike crashes, it increases from 40 to about 80%. And the annual investment cost is 25 million overall for all the roadways, and for the increased performance scenario, it's about 50 million annually. So just to recap this, this tech memo analyzes both the congestion and safety needs, and we can say that at the baseline investment of 24 million per year, we could reduce the future peak delay by almost 50% and achieve a speed increase of 14% on 300 miles of roadway. Doubling the investment would help to achieve a 70% delay reduction and overall a speed increase of 21% on 550 miles of roadway. Similarly, for safety, 25 million per year would reduce fatal crashes by 35%, bike ped crashes by over 55% on 650 miles of roadway, and an increased spending of 50 million per year would help to achieve more benefits in fatal crashes and bike ped crashes on over 1,060 miles of roadway in the future. With this, yes.
Quick question, if you could go back to that slide. I don't think we should really use the word speed increase. That's not something that I think that this board at all supports. I think, do you mean?
I can explain that.
Yeah, and if you could explain it and then maybe come up with a different term other than speed increase.
Sure.
Here we aren't encouraging speed increase.
Yes, so I would like to explain that the speed increase doesn't necessarily need speed increase over the speed limit. This is still will be within the posted speed limit. It's just for the most congested corridors where the congestion is so bad that the speed is not able to be reached at the posted speed limit. So it will be safe speeds within the speed limit and the design speed, but it's just the speed increase means the speed increase closer to achieve the benefits of congestion reduction.
Yeah, I just don't like that terminology. I'm really uncomfortable with that because personally, I don't think we should ever reach a speed limit. I think we should be reducing speed limits throughout the city. So I don't know.
But these are what the roads.
Charles, is there a better way to say
It's
that?
peak hour travel speed
Okay.
kind of stuff. It's not, you could also just as easily term it as like operational improvements.
Okay.
It's not, it's just
Yeah.
it's what they call the traffic. It's one of the traffic terms that they study for.
I wouldn't approve, personally, I wouldn't approve anything that uses the words increasing speed. I personally don't care for that terminology.
Right.
Maybe congestion delay improves or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more like, think about it as reducing the deterioration of travel time.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if we can come up with a better term.
Yeah.
I think
it reactivates.
For Bay to Bay, when we did that study, it was 18 miles per hour speed, travel speed. That incorporates when you're stopped at a signal. So it's overall time to reach point A, point B.
so. Yes, whatever that. There was a great euphemism. I can't remember which one of you came up with it, but let's use that instead. Yeah. Operational.
Operation speed, yes.
Yes. Yeah. If you could change it to that, I think. Well, I would be more comfortable, and I think I could speak for a lot of people in this room.
But that was what the term was when we measured it. But I can make that as a note and say that operational speed. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Anybody else have questions? Why we're not at zero.
I have, is this the last slide?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So this is action, but before that, the one thing, the Tampa Bay Regional traffic model, do we have like, I know a little bit about it, but I'd like to see almost like an audit of it to see if projected volumes from 2020 or projected volumes 20 years in the future, 2000 to 2020, actually came true.
Okay.
Because what's happening is there's a few things where it's a model and people hold it as true, but it's a model. And there's other things that we should consider when we're looking at that, and it kind of overrules everything else. So we're getting a lot of like projects that are being altered because of this model. And I can tell you from anecdotal experience, but from VIA's forecasting that we've had before, their models didn't hit. But like when I've asked them, okay, well, did you reach that? They had like all on certain exits and stuff like that. And things like increased urban development in like the Water Street area is increasing traffic, which makes no sense whatsoever. So why would that increase interstate traffic for Sparkle and or for the areas around? And it just doesn't come true.
Sure.
So that's the kind of stuff that, like, when we look at it, I think we need to look at a holistic, like how we look at our transportation projects on a whole. And I think that has a very huge implication on how we plan our projects. Basically, we follow this model that was probably, I don't even know when the last time it was updated, or what the update cycles are, or how they generate the updates, what factors do they consider when they do this, and things like that. So I do know that it is, there's transit modules and stuff like that, but it is very much single occupancy vehicle dominant.
Yes.
So, like, I think that would be interesting to find out, and almost like whether or not we could look into, like, maybe, all right, this is kind of off the subject, but one of the things that I always thought was looking at urban centers and downtowns, heavily densified urban centers, and forming a capacity project, a vehicle capacity project in those areas should be completely done. Like, we should not do it. Because in areas where you have high urban densities, we should not cater to vehicles whatsoever. So any areas where you have a certain population growth or a certain population intact, I don't think we should do capacity projects, like, period. So I think it should be
a C5 or C6. Why would you? Yeah.
like, we had a development come in, it was coming off of Kennedy and it Lafayette Towers, and we went to the FDOT development review committee or whatever, and they were looking at turn lanes and all this other stuff, and it got to the point where I was like, oh, do you really think that we should be trying to cater to free flow speeds in the urban center? And it, just in that one project, it's a block away from a bridge, a historic bridge that is contained. You're not going to widen the road there, so what was the point of even bringing that project in? But they look at everything like through a microscope, and it's like blinders, everything's just coming in like that. So I really do think that we need to start looking at maybe looking at context, what type of projects, the surrounding context, what type of projects go in those areas, more so than looking at roads blindly as roads.
Okay.
So I know it's a lot, but I don't know.
Yeah, is that a motion?
I'd like to elaborate. Yeah, I can. And, so part of the issue we have in transit, and I'll talk about the BRT project, is that we have to use those models to apply for the lane repurposing on the Florida Avenue corridor for the BRT project. And we're using the imaginary model numbers to then get approval from DOT to take the lane off the corridor. So in the opening year, for instance, the only thing we're worried about for Florida Avenue is the northbound afternoon traffic. A couple people might have to sit through MLK for a couple extra cycles if we implement it tomorrow, right? It's not that bad. There'll be some backlash. We know that. But the 2045 model says it's going to be Carmageddon. And as we know, in like real Carmageddon, LA, Philly, when 95 was down, it didn't, it didn't happen. But, what we see in 2045 also is that our ridership on that route, because you've constrained the vehicle capacity, is that we finally get the mode shift that all of us want to transit. So we've got like 8,000 passengers per day on that route in 2045, whereas opening day we have like 4,000. And right now we've got 3,500 on that corridor. So it's actually getting us to where we want to be with our mode split. And I'm not sure what the model mode split is now. It's probably not great because we don't have enough transit service, right? So there's a whole chicken and egg thing. But we have to deal with that model in everything we do. And then to talk about like the downtown capacity projects and one of the concerns that we're trying to address, I haven't seen what Thea's latest ramp program looks like, but I definitely have a concern about adding any traffic to Florida Avenue when we're trying to take a lane off of it in downtown for transit. So anything that compromises that from Brewery north to Tyler, where we go back to mixed traffic for like 3 blocks because it's constrained, is very concerning to us to advance our project. So we're going to work with Thea to make sure that nothing they're doing with those ramps assumes that we're not taking a lane off of that segment of Florida Avenue, whether it's parking or whatnot.
Before you go, real quick, the Florida, for instance, that project had to go through an IOAR, which is interstate operational, some report through DOT. But the thing is, they were looking at future volume and saying, well, in the future, you're going to need 2 lanes here. So we actually added a lane for a portion of that project because of what's happening in the future. And that project didn't need anything except for resurfacing and paving coats. It's nothing that can't be removed if that need ever comes up in the future. So it's just, but Jackson, you can go out there and you can see the speeds on Jackson. And that street could have been condensed a lot more, even if it's not physically condensed, like meaning by curb. You could do things, you don't need to add lanes or maintain the same amount of lanes now, but they do it for the future. So it's like, sorry.
Everyone ate their Wheaties this morning because it's such a great conversation. No, Cal, you mentioned a good point. I hate to make another motion to have another status
Go
report,
for it.
but
No, I already wrote it down as bring the regional transportation model gurus here to.
Yeah, I would be very curious.
So you guys.
Yeah, specifically, I think from 2000 to 2022, what was projected for 2020 in 2000 and what actuals were. I think that's a really interesting snapshot to look at, because if you think about historically what was being planned and discussed in 2000 is a lot of the same things we're talking about today. So I think what would be very interesting is to see first, did some of these projections actually happen? And then more importantly, with the dollars that were spent in this 20-year time frame, how has that skewed projections into the future? Because we have to deal with the projections we have now, and the projections we have now are largely based off of the improvements that were made over 20 years, based off of the projections that were made in 2000. So
I love my committee, they're too smart for
that
this.
was,
So you're making a motion.
well, I mean, do we
Well, I
need,
think it is direct staff.
Okay.
do we,
Great.
yeah, I mean, I,
I already wrote it down, that's a good idea.
this is a good conversation. I'd like to have some more numbers in front of us.
It's more than
to have
one,
that
as long as we're not
conversation.
gonna glaze over the rest of it.
And I'd be curious also, I know.
I think we're all kind of. Yeah.
I know we're talking a lot about city roads, which is important, but I'm also curious on county roads as well. So that conversation
Oh, yeah.
from a countywide perspective,
It's not city center.
especially since I saw in the FDOT work plan a number of State Road 60 intersections, and that's where I grew up. So I'm very curious to
Yes.
hear more about that.
I'll put one more pin on this to kind of show what I'm talking about. We did a West Shore area traffic study. If you take that and widen roads, what the traffic study said the need is at that time, you knock down the buildings. So at that point, why are people driving?
Yeah.
And then when you put that, you also got to say, okay, then what amount of space is needed for parking at this point? And then it eventually becomes like a diminishing return to where the amount of actual use of space for people to live and work is gone because it's all car space.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't, when you get to this, like when I looked at it, I'm like, we paid money for that. And we threw it out the window because it doesn't make any sense to actually widen everything. So.
You do. Have a right of us.
Unpopular opinion about the interstate projects is the main problem most of us probably agree on is that we don't toll urban interstates, right? And then this model justifies their expansion in perpetuity. So we have all this data that supports capacity projects, but not other modes. So we're in this cycle.
Okay.
And
Let's have a workshop on it.
well,
We'll get another.
we have another committee.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I have something that's completely different that I have been banging the drum on at many different places, but has to do with congestion management. and crash mitigation lately, and I don't know if any of you are having this, I don't drive all that much, and when I do, I'm seeing a huge increase in blocking the box, which is, for those who don't know, cars blocking an intersection when the light changes. I've talked to Vic about this, I talked to FDOT about this when they came to present at the city a couple weeks ago, and it's an issue for pedestrians as well as cyclists and cars. And it slows down. I mean, it's a huge problem all of a sudden. I mean, I've seen it from time to time, and now it's just gotten out of control. So we'd love some support for how we can stop that, whether it be, fines with camera. I don't know what the answer is, but anything talking about congestion management and crash mitigation must include how we stop this block in the box.
Occurs every day.
Yeah, I mean, it occurs like I said, in all sorts of things. I got off the phone with someone talking about it, and literally on the way to City Hall, got stopped.
So
in that
cars
very
are in
zone.
the crosswalk?
Yeah, no, not just the crosswalk, but just in the
People
middle of
aren't
the
remembering
intersection.
to not enter the intersection until it's clear in front of them.
And so then you stop the traffic. The most common is Florida and Hillsborough, where people are going east on Hillsborough, and then 4 cars sit in the intersection, and then traffic can't go north on Florida. And of course, this is during rush hour afternoon. And so that impedes the speed, that impedes, but it also, if you're on that right side, if you got off the bus at a bus stop right there, you cannot cross the street because there's cars in the middle. So it impedes everyone. Yeah, it's exactly. And so it just seems to be getting worse. But anyway, that's just an aside, but anytime we're talking about congestion management, let's consider how we can stop that.
I guess it's a private behavior.
It is driving behavior, but there's got to be.
It'd be interesting to see if it is occurring at locations where there are red light cameras.
Well, Hillsborough in Florida does have red light cameras, but the law apparently is once you're in the intersection, you're okay. And that has to be changed to some degree, and that's why I'm banging the drum everywhere I can to see what we can do
Could you just ticket folks for being in the box?
Again, if you're in the intersection when the light is green, technically you were allowed to be there.
Yeah.
And so we need to do some management. But again, Orlando and Miami also have to have this problem within our state. So we just need to look at it overall.
I go to the State Safety Coalition, and
Great.
they seem to have all the right minds there.
Well, I would really appreciate anything that we can do for that.
That we can steal
Thanks.
here. But right now, we're just saying, oh, these plans.
Yep.
Let's
Okay,
get
so are we approving it? Have a motion to approve?
So moved. Yeah, second.
Okay. Motion from Kevin and a second from Calvin. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Thank you.
Always get more, you bargained for it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, like how does enforcement? I mean, in New York, they had them and it was under a $700 fine, but that was 10 years ago. So how do we?
So we do it for fire stations.
Yeah, but again, how do we, I just want to make sure it's legal and it goes through all the hoops and.
It would be through state statute.
Yeah.
That's it through state statute.
But that's what I'm trying to figure out, like what Miami and Orlando have done, because if they've come up with a way that doesn't have to go through state statute, then.
Yeah, what's funny about that too is that it seems like whenever someone proposes a new driving law it's always something like that where the people get aggravated if they have to wait a light. So even like the legislators are like kind of like, man, I hate when that happens. So like someone should do something. It's like, oh wait, legislature. So you always see kind of things like that.
Yeah.
Seems a little weird since Johnny's in the room that I'm going to channel him. But okay. So, hi, Lisa Silva, TPO staff, your LRC liaison, and I'm going to present the cost feasible scenarios. So you saw earlier on the little, Shaka did this month. You saw Connor's equity needs thing a different month. Somebody else brought good repair another month. Since she covered the safety one and crash mitigation one today, I'm probably going to skim that one super fast. But so
this is like the money. So there's lots and lots of complicated info that determines what we can project and plan for the financing of all of the wonderful projects we'd like to know about. So this is a summary and the first baby steps. So today I'm presenting the cost revenue technical memo, and it's a discussion of those cost feasible scenarios. This first one is pavement maintenance. Assessing all of your transportation needs begins with the current top funding priority, which is asset management. Looking first at the pavement condition, we've estimated that if the current trend of spending $137 million per year continues to 2050, 27% of the roads can be resurfaced every 12 to 20 years. Increasing that to $225 million per year will allow all of our roads to achieve that goal. Bridge maintenance. The trend for bridge maintenance is about $23 million a year, which funds maintenance to allow for 86% of the roads to be rehabilitated every 40 years. A slight increase to $27 million will allow 100% to meet that goal. Stormwater capacity and pavement hardening. Only $1.6 million per year is currently being spent on stormwater drainage improvements, while none of it is being spent on pavement hardening of critical and vulnerable roads. About $15 million invested per year on drainage improvements would reduce flooding on 71 miles of road during major storms. With $67 million a year, those same 71 miles could be hardened and raised to prevent flooding and ensure that the roads remain passable for emergency responders and freight, as well as allowing people to access critical destinations sooner after a disaster. We all can feel that in our hurricane world. Okay, safety treatment costs and performance. So kind of hit this already. Moving the Vision Zero category, the $25 million spent today on safety improvements, if those investments were optimized on arterials and high crash density areas, we could achieve 35% reduction in serious crashes and a 55% reduction in walk-bike crashes over to by 2050. If we bump that up to 50 million, we would see a slight diminishing return and still achieve 42% reduction in serious and 70% reduction in bike crashes. But as your Vision Zero coordinator, I'm saying that is not zero and it's 2050. So I'd like to put a lot more in there. But
Lisa, I have a question on the last slide. Sorry.
okay.
Question / comment. The 643. I think it would be helpful if there was like a percentage of the total. Is it 1% total of all the miles of road in the county? Is it 10% of the road? That's just to give people some idea. Like, does it go from 1 to 2% of all miles of roadway?
Okay. Now you're getting a little tiny snippet of a very in-depth tech memo, and all the tech memos are on the LRTP portion of our website. So it may be explained in a lot of ad nauseam detail there, but I'll, I've noted that.
I think most
that's not a bad idea.
Don't read all those technical manuals.
Right. I've noted your improvement. I'm like saying, since this committee likes to get in the weeds, if you would really like to see everything, it is on there. It is way more detailed.
Can I ask one question? This is for state roads. This doesn't, like, the city doesn't get rehabilitation dollars for this.
Okay, we're not talking work program now. This is I'm setting up our LRTP discussion was just all roads everywhere all the time.
Right, but the LRTP, state of good repair never goes to the city roads.
Currently, it does not. It says we spend zero on that today. The trend is zero. We're saying if you did invest, you could do all of this to all of your roads. And we do have a resiliency plan adopted that says we're in a world of hurt if we don't start doing that when we improve our roads. They will all be underwater. We have a whole, Allison Yang's team did that one. Okay. All right, safety treatment. This could be achieved by implementing a combination of low-cost treatments spread out over 1,000 miles of roadway, including lighting, crosswalks, bike lanes, raised medians, and other general traffic calming projects. On traffic operations, travel delay and congestion can be improved using lower cost operational treatments to smooth traffic flow. Understanding the benefits of these treatments are a little tricky because measuring the reduction compared to the worst case scenario. If we assume that no improvements will be made for 20 years and the roads become more and more congested, that is a starting point to measure the impacts of these projects. Maintaining a 24 million investment in operations will yield a 48% delay by 2050 and will result in a 14% net speed increase, which we all agree that's a better way to say that. So the speed when it's really super duper slow, and it would go up a little bit during that time, which would help the average travel speed to significantly lower the but it would still be significantly lower than the posted speed limit. Doubling that investment achieves a 70% delay reduction and a 21% speed increase. So, traffic operation costs and performance. This can be accomplished with some combination of projects like ramp metering, rapid crash clearance, and part-time hard shoulder running on freeways, and computerized signal control and timing on the most congested arterials. Bus service. HART's current capital and operating budget is approximately 160 million, with 9 routes having service of 30 minutes or less. 19 routes come every hour. Raising that investment to 450 million per year could double the number of routes with 30-minute service, and 1 in 3 people's jobs would be, okay, and 1/3 of people and their jobs in 2050 would be near a route offering 15-minute service or better. So that's a big bump, but a big increase.
That they include the hub bus? Those numbers include the hub plus pickup.
Yes, that would include, that would paratransit. Yeah. And you're going to see more about that in a minute. Okay. Nearly 500,000 residents are considered transit disadvantaged, and that number is expected to surpass 600,000 by 2050. Last year, the Sunshine Line was able to provide 80,000 last resort trips to medical appointments at a cost of 1.3 million per year. As the transit disadvantaged population grows, the need will grow to more than 1 million door-to-door trips at an estimated cost of 16 million per year. This could be lowered by 10% if the bus system were expanded. So that's chicken and egg again. If you had way better transit, you wouldn't need to have to call those park lines. So yes, we've included the transit. All right, 10, trails and side paths. Roughly 700K is now spent annually on trails in Hillsborough County. If that trend continues, we would build 10 miles of new trails by 2050. If that investment were increased to 3.5 million, we could build 40 new miles of trails and side paths. New and wider roads. With all of the other project category, while all the other project categories are able to be estimated based on general unit costs, major capacity projects like highway widenings, extensions, elevations, interchange reconstructions, and transit operations in dedicated right-of-way must be individually listed in an LRTP and include detailed cost estimates. We're talking about this process now to prepare you for what's going to come next in the process that will span from today into next summer. We have already reached out to all the local governments asking them to propose their major projects. I believe we even came to this committee a month or so ago. Once that list is complete, our staff will work with a consultant to produce cost estimates and then test the benefits of each project in the travel model. We'll then spend several months working with the public and the board to identify which projects you would like to add to the cost feasible plan.
Does this include reducing roads?
Any major project.
This does new and wider roads.
That's some examples of ones that have been proposed that would need testing, but removing a road would also need to be tested. All right. This is our project performance. This sample spreadsheet gives an indication of how you may choose to assess the impacts of each project, but it is not exhaustive. Modeling, as we pointed out earlier, is not perfect, but it's a very technical exercise. So not all of these acronyms may make sense now, but we're able to produce jobs served, vehicle hours of delays avoided, vehicular emissions, vehicle miles traveled, speed estimates, ridership estimates. If you'd like us to produce anything else not shown here, our staff can work with the consultants if possible. So speak up. if you do. All right, freight movement. Some freight projects are considered a subset of major projects, and this map and table show treatments identified as part of the 2018 Tampa Bay Regional Strategic Freight Plan and include capacity improvements, grade separation, operational improvements to improve truck movement and reduce delay along major corridors. Examples include CSX at the 41 grade separation we've seen before, 301 improvements from Selman to I-4 and 275 improvements, including the Howard Franklin Bridge replacement. Those are all freight examples. Freight needs costs. Other freight treatments are operational, such as ramp metering and shoulder running. The investment trend is approximately $12 million a year, which improves interstate reliability by 16% and reduces delay costs by $12 million. An increase in investment to $16 million a year would pay for itself in time savings and improve reliability by 34%. So I see you get more bang for your buck in this category. Equity needs. We looked at equity in detail this time. The results of our very first equity needs assessment shows that for 15 disadvantaged areas to catch up to just the countywide average for asset condition and safety performance, we need more than 419 miles of bike lanes, 178 miles of pavement resurfacing, and about 450 miles of sidewalks built or rebuilt, and about 234 miles of tree canopy, just to catch up to the county. And we all know the county could use some stuff too. So,
Is it communicated to the politicians?
Yeah, this same presentation was presented last Wednesday. And they're going to see more. You're going to hear about the next steps too. Okay. Equity. All 15 focus areas have their performance assessed compared to the countywide average, and 9 of the metrics are shown here. The second column from the left says target area with greatest disparity and shows the communities performing the worst. And the full needs assessment is going to the board this coming month. So if you want to see this tech memo and the discussion, tune in next month. So putting the pieces all together, now that we have overwhelmed you with a mountain of information, and our next task is to simplify all this detail into a series of decision points. Using results from our public survey and conversations with our board and our partners, we hope to better understand the performance desires for each need. For pavement, bridge, safety, congestion, transit, trails, transit disadvantaged, freight, and major projects. Do you want high performance, trend performance, or something in between? The board will then have to start considering if our existing revenues can afford that performance. And if not, maybe start to explore tapping into some potential funding sources to fund the projects. To help us get the ball rolling, there's a paper survey in front of you to fill out, letting us know what are your top priorities. And it's two-sided. These results won't commit you to anything down the road, and you're not obligating or representing your particular county and obligating you to that. This is just to help us do a better job with the next pieces that we're developing. It helps us get an idea where we stand today. So summary of the available and potential new revenues are here. So 31 to fiscal year 2050. The blue bars on this graph represent existing revenue sources, while the gray are just potential revenue sources. The potential revenue sources are general estimates of what funding could be available and are included purely as data points to inform future conversations amongst the community and the TPO board in the development of the LRTP. As these conversations progress about what revenues should be considered feasible, we'll be seeking your input directly. So every time we always have an LRTP detailed survey too. So I see a hand. Don't ask a hard question, okay?
Quick question on the Hart ad valorem. Is there a reason why it's 3 mils versus 1 or 2, or is that maxing out?
That's the max it's allowed.
That's the new max out
Kevin.
option.
Yeah, a lot of these have that max.
As it's in gray, it's a potential one.
If I can just clarify so that everybody here knows. Hart is currently maxed out in their existing charter at 0.5 mil. The state max is 3 mils, but we would have to change our charter at a countywide vote level to be able to hit that.
So just to repeat back, you would need to change your charter and go to referendum vote, and that would allow you to go and
To
propose a 3
increase,
mil.
to go beyond the half mil we currently.
And would you have to go back to voters to increase your 3 mil, or,
Yes.
so that would be 2 votes then?
No, they could do it one.
Okay, that was my question, was whether
So-
to change the charter, because you could go up to the max, so you could do a 2 mil, but you wouldn't have to go to voters and say.
To increase it anywhere from a half to 1 to 2 to 3 to any increase beyond a half would require a charter change at the ballot box.
But just the charter change, so then if you want to renew it, or if you want to go up, you wouldn't need to go to voters and say, all right, the charter's changed, but we can go up to 3.
Whatever is put in the referendum would be the max that we could go, that our board could set
Could
as
set.
our edit form.
Ah,
All right, and I have a slide that says these things, so
Sorry.
let me kind of plow through and then maybe we can get in the weeds and I'll be glad to flip back. How about, okay? All right, so this is potential local funding. This slide focuses on that. In the yellow are the fuel taxes that could fund transportation. For example, the 9-cent fuel tax is set to sunset in 2039, which is in our time horizon. But if reauthorized, could generate 117 million from 2031 to 2050, or about 9 million a year. The second local option fuel tax has never been levied, but could generate 650 million over the forecasted period, or 23 million a year. In orange are the potential sales tax, including reauthorization of the community investment tax, which expires in 2026, or a new charter transportation surtax. The green bars show revenues potential available if property taxes were used for transportation, including if Hart's millage were increased. Currently, Hart's millage is at 0.5, but has a potential limit of 3 mils. The blue are other potential local funding sources, such as a TNC fee or a vehicle miles traveled fee, a VMT fee, although they would require action by the Florida legislature to enable local entities to pursue these. Okay, we're just putting them up there. If all things aligned and we're, wonderful, that was it. Okay, 21. To help us put this into context, I'll walk you through 2 scenarios. Here is an example scenario from the 2040 LRTP that considered maintaining existing revenues but refocusing funding to TPO investment programs like good repair rather than road widening. It breaks it down to expenditures based on transportation investment like bus service, crash mitigation, bridges, etc. In this scenario was the half-cent sales tax with focus on roads, local and state priority road projects. You'll see the overall revenue expenditures and revenues are higher because there is a new potential funding source added. These are only 2 of the infinite number of possibilities. I think we had 10 or 8 last time, got a bunch this time. We need your help to refine the scenarios that should be tested in the LRTP. The feedback requested is no formal action today. These are just little paper surveys that are going to help us. So we'd like your input on the spending priorities and the funding strategies to explore. In spring, we'll bring back 10 of them that match up performance with what the revenues are, and then open it up for a discussion with the goal of finalizing to a single scenario by fall, because we have to adopt it in our LRTP. So what do I need to go back to?
This slide right here, is that a half cent or a 1 cent sales tax? A certain tax.
Okay. Pretty sure it's a full cent. You think so?
They say half cent elsewhere. Since it's 13 billion.
It didn't see the amount here.
And then I have a
Oh,
question.
yeah, the second yellow one, is that what you're talking about?
No.
Second orange.
Second orange.
Oh, it's probably the 1 cent.
Just make
Yeah, because it was, that's what we had on the books last time, and then it got ripped away, so it's the 1 cent.
Okay. And then one other question for charter amendment. Since it's a state authority, does it have to go to the state to amend the charter?
There's a charter review board amended. Does anyone know how the transit village gets changed?
Well, Hart's and then our local, correct?
No,
No.
but any authority is established by the
Well,
state.
yeah.
So you probably would have to go, I think that your charter is established by Florida statute. So you probably have to go to state legislature.
Yeah.
There's a lot, almost everything has to go to referendum now.
Yeah.
And everything does.
Except,
Yes.
and I flagged this at the TPO board last week, is city council's ability to assess the city itself.
For property.
Through
Yeah,
and Florida.
Yeah.
We talked about that, yes. Arizona?
I want to go back to my other people. Yeah, I didn't get it all the way out.
He wants to go back to his previous question about the heart.
Yeah, I didn't get it all out. So I know that you guys know where, the reason that came was because God had put a lot of church money doing the thing. They also had to use Yellow Cab and Uber to pick up all these. So we had to verify the numbers of hot pickups, the number of Yellow Cab pickups, Uber.
Yeah, all trucks, no matter who's picking them up. Okay.
That number again, now is not good.
Get that.
Again, this is a snapshot of a very thick tech memo. I'm sure we have all of those trips in there. Yeah, we just don't have them broken down by which type of vehicle.
So for everybody else, he's talking about our ADA paratransit service. What we do is we book several hundred trips a day on about 60 to 70 vans. If we can't handle that load, then we outsource those trips to Yellow Cab. If the Yellow Cab can't handle that load, they outsource it to Uber. And the Yellow Cab and the Uber trips are much cheaper per trip than our van service. So we're trying to find a balance to deliver that service on time to people that need it, but not overwhelm our operators by taking their 8-hour shift and making it 10 hours with very little breaks. There's been explosive growth.
The outsourcing's cheaper than.
The Yellow Cab rate that we pay for certain mileage is sometimes a cost savings. So it's a balance between, but it depends on the passenger's ability to get in the vehicles that they can provide, whereas a van is necessary for
Okay.
Arizona.
Anybody have questions about your survey? Because this is an action and we got 10 minutes, so.
Not to reopen the modeling conversation, but the revenue projected from the gas tax, is that accounting for a rise in EV and non-combustion vehicles?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it goes down every year and we presume that over the 20-year horizon.
I may sound like a broken record, but the thing with the off-street parking, the 10 mil related to off-street parking, that's just like the parking department charging for parking in their parking garages, correct? Like.
Where'd you see that?
On the thing, there was off-street parking at 10 mil.
As a funding source somewhere?
Yes.
Oh, down below.
Yeah. So.
They were stealing cheap people money.
That's just government owned. I always are gonna make a plug that maybe the city or the county or whatever, look at the potential of taxing non-residential parking spaces. So all the parking at the mall, having an individual rate per spot for that site, that they get a surtax of $5 a year for each space they have allocated on there. And that money dedicated to parking. I don't even know if it's legal by the state or who, but I know other states I've read have that model for cities. So
I suspect that would work really great for funding city specialized projects. We're doing the LRTP for all 4 jurisdictions for forever. So we have to have pretty, consistent and predictable finite sources. But that's a really great concept. It just might be too refined for this one, but I noted it.
Plugging in.
Or basic value off of potential use rather than what.
Right, there's other ways of, and we're missing revenue with these seas of parking, and everyone just assumes it's free and it isn't. But I think this municipalities should tap into that
Oh, yeah, I see you.
money stream there, potential revenue.
Yeah, these are potentials. So we could potentially charge for and collect more. We could potentially get vehicle fees. We could potentially get driver's license fees. A lot of those are not in place and do take several hurdles. But we're wanting to hear, do you like those? Do you not? Because there's not a lot of senior petitions to look through. And then what scenarios do you like combined, like what, when we look at what we can do with the money we do have and the potential sources, what concept do you want to see?
And do you just want to go around and collect these, or should we?
Yeah, you have to turn them in to me before you leave, but right now I'm just open to questions.
Sure. You're talking about charter change, city, county, park, lots of points. Which charter are we?
Well, the HART fee is tied to the HART charter. They're saying that there's some state charter that sets how much jurisdictions can charge for a millage, because a millage is a BOCC property tax thing that gets set. Part of that goes to HART, where our HART is, our transit agency is one of the lowest funded in the whole United States of a city its size.
But because we're not a county department, we do set our own millage. But by our founding charter, we are limited to a half mil. So we would have to have the voters vote to increase that.
So whose charter were you talking about? Change?
Their charter, their founding
HART.
charter, HART's founding charter. Sorry, that wasn't clear.
Dumb question, but
No, I don't know.
That's why I wanted to say it earlier.
So I learned it.
We're going to have to say that many times.
Okay.
I still don't know all the answers.
Okay, we have some, just fill out your short new business.
Homework,
West Tampa Elementary painting car line.
Yeah.
Emily, did you want to discuss this?
Lisa, I'll let you.
I will. So, as you saw back in January, we adopted the Tampa School Transportation Safety Study. In it were the top 8 had detailed analysis. West Tampa Elementary was one of them, and it suggested differentiating the car line from the travel line so the crazy cut-through traffic wasn't conflicting or swerving into the car line, et cetera. They have very tight constraints. So an Eagle Scout approached us and said, hey, I have a project, I'm gonna do something. And of course, she went paint near her county school, and I'm like, that's not really approving maintenance projects quite yet. They're still working on it. How about one of these for our schools? And so she picked the school, worked with the principal. The principal said, let's use our new logo for our mascot. And so they're doing it. They're painting the puppy paws and the dog heads on Saturday. So if you want to come out, it'd be great. She managed the whole project with assistance. So Vision Zero sponsored some of the paint, and Sidewalk Stompers is going to come and do their magic and crowd enlightenment and stuff. So that's a fun, feel good event. So if it is raining, which it will not rain on Saturday, the rain date is the following Saturday on the 28th. So just a really great community inspired and activated implementation of one of our studies. So, okay. And then really great consultant who does webinars all over the nation. Ian Lockwood is one of our consultants. It's in your packet too. I just wanted to point it out and tell you that the TAC meeting in December is going to be a special workshop with the roles and designs of arterial streets as the topic. This guy's really, really good at communicating how to design the roads better and why it makes sense. He's the consultant on our Vision Zero streets in the city for Sly and Waters as well, just coincidentally. So TAC meets on December 4th, 1:30 to 3:30 in this room. The whole audience and world is in. And you guys love this stuff. You love this technical stuff and like learning how to make your points more effectively in the future and stuff. So even if you don't come and attend, you can tune in just like many of our members are tuned in today. So you can tune in and listen because he's kind of a rock star. And then, yeah, there's an underlying webinar at noon today. I'm going to do it too, so maybe some of you will too. So that's it. David.
I would like to request at some future date, us to look at the expenditures of the municipalities and the church and the county on public roads that do not provide connections, so cul-de-sacs, right? Like out in the county, we have a huge amount of roadways that are publicly owned, that offer no actual public benefits through connecting to other streets. So the maintenance of those roads, really, this is just my opinion, should not be as important as roadways that are actually providing, they could be local roads providing connections to other streets. I live on a cul-de-sac, but it's a private road. So, but public roads, and I just would like us all to have an understanding of the money that we are spending on that.
And maybe how they prioritize.
How they prioritize, like resurfacing, stuff like that. Because really, I mean, I know in Nebraska and all that stuff, they're pulling up pavement because they don't have money to maintain all this. So if we're spending 1% of our budget, could be a 0.25%, I don't know, 10% of the budget to maintain roads that don't offer, that don't actually go anywhere, I think that money could be better spent in other areas.
Like we spend ours on a high entry network.
Right, and that should be
All
the
right,
ultimate.
I'll note it and invite them and look to our County colleagues that assist us. Okay. Justin.
Yeah, on the previous item, when we're going to look at the different funding by DOTs and counties, can you make sure that there is a per population, that we look at it by population as well, the spending per capita for each of those buckets as well?
Okay. Okay.
Because I'd like to see what the spending per capita is in Miami-Dade versus Hillsborough.
Yeah, because, I was gonna say, you're gonna be amazed when you see District 3. They're exciting projects when they come to the state coalition. It's like a midnight crossing on a big rural roadway because they have no urban roadways. And so, the pie charts are gonna be very different, but if you find to compare 5 and 4 to 7. Gus?
I just want to get this on the record somewhere. At the August park board meeting, I guess this was this county commissioner's first time. He shouldn't have even had a right to vote. He didn't know what it cost to ride the bus. He's sitting on the park board. It was televised. I was ashamed. He didn't know what a bus fare was, and he's talking about cutting service. And we all know we can cut more service here. But sheer fact that he had no idea, and the most experienced person was the one with gray hair, and I can't remember her name, sorry, I don't mean to.
Well, we don't
County
get
commissioner, she told him he had absolutely no idea how to even pay for bus ride.
Yeah, there's a lot of educating we do our own. Okay, one more.
I want to make sure I got what you said, because we're not doing pie charts for all of District 7, all of the state. We're gonna do the slide, you want the slides like this.
Yeah, I think that it would be helpful to know the breakdown by district,
Right,
but then also by county,
by county.
and then the per capita spending on each of those items.
Okay,
So
I
basically,
just wanted
we
to
could
make
say,
sure.
whatever the 17 million in operations Hillsborough gets from the state over a 5-year period, how many millions does Miami-Dade Broward get for just transit operations? Obviously, we all know that they have heavy rail and they're going to have a higher number, but I think we'd still like to know.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because
Well,
pie charts,
I was saying pie chart because you got that number broken down. It does not take much to turn it into a pie chart, which they also requested. And I thought, well, we've already requested pie chart and we requested all the other districts. They might already even have pie charts for it. So
But
just
I
nice
can't
to
speak
compare
to-
them apples.
I can't speak to other districts because this is a District 7 we go out and do things a little bit differently than everybody else. In regards to the pie chart, I thought Councilwoman Hurtak wanted those in future presentations. Is that what you're looking for? Like, or are you wanting, okay, I just want to make sure I understand the request because I'm going to have to go back and make sure. So I was understanding Justin's, I was understanding what you were saying, and I want to make sure that we just all are on the same page. So we'll get the information by county or by district with the county, with the breakdowns.
If I have to put the numbers into a pie chart, we'll have to do that one.
Right.
It's
And we
very
can
visual,
figure it
otherwise it's
out.
a line of numbers and a line of numbers, and it's not as meaningful because percentages and or visual.
Yeah, I think we'll be able to figure it out, whether it's TPO staff or you. I think it's. gonna be
Okay,
easy
I just
to
want to
do.
make sure I was accommodating what.
But I
what
think
was
the
going on.
answer of we do things a little differently in Hillsborough County is what we're trying to get at. Because
Right.
I'm
That's
pretty
our
sure
problem.
that we don't fund transit operations through state money the way that the DOT does in other districts.
Okay.
And if we're talking about
Don't
funding
fund it
options,
through millage either.
this seems like a logical path to explore.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have my work program pull the numbers for the other districts because I don't know
Yeah.
presentation wise how they do it. So I just want to make sure I'm asking them correctly and using the correct language the first time to get the information so that I can disseminate it to you guys. So thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Anybody have any questions? Okay, we are adjourned. All right, turn your surveys in.